70% of whiskey enthusiasts try over 6 different whiskies per month, with around 25% sampling over 16 different whiskies. I think the folk on Twitter, were the most whiskey curious.
All in all, it's a very shabby piece of research, obscured by invalid style.
Now I know I am someone who is lucky, and after grafting away on this channel, I'm in a position where I am able to sip away on many exciting drams. So with the start of the new Whiskey Tube season, it's about time I dived in deep to the amazing and frankly awful liquid I've tried, which didn't quite make it to a full bottle review. Well, some did, and I'll explain why in a bit.
That's a surprise tool that can help us later.
But welcome back to Jeff Whiskey, a whiskey review channel slapping bottles in a shirt and shades. And if this sounds good, slap subscribe. But for now, let's crack on.
Jeff Whiskey.
So from sample swaps, bottle splits, the occasional bottle delivery, I wanted to do a creative outlet where I can summarise the highs and lows of whiskey I've had over the month.
Please drink responsibly.
Or in this case, over the summer. Think of it as a little mix between Vin's Whisky In Whisky Out and the Last Drop's Whisky Diary Series he done, with plenty of Jeffisms. I'm aware what that sounded like.
Actually, when you say seaman, it sounds kind of like...
So for this whiskey this month, this would be a real whiskey rundown, and in no real order of some of the stuff I've tried, which I felt was worth talking about. So first, let's start with a bottle. Kingsbarn Dream to Dram. Finally got my hands on a bottle. This was discontinued back in June 2023, and I was just gutted. I never got to get myself a bottle. There were multiple opportunities, but like a fool, I kept it on the back burner, and then I just kicked myself when it was all sold.
No one to blame but myself on that.
Keenheads, which I'm 100% butchering, are like a brilliant independent online whiskey shop, and they had one in stock which tied in with their birthday discount, so I had to grab it. I'll do a full review on this, but I love this whiskey. It is pure strawberry STR delight, and it is what I've got in my glass now. So let's keep this bottle train going. I don't often buy bottles, as my collection video shows. I think I've got enough.
Got many bottles right there.
This Wee Broon Electric Coo, a delicious wild mix of Campbeltown, which briefly I spoke with Roy and his merry crew during that V-Pub Campbeltown takeover.
Yeah, no, this is the Wee Broon Electric Coo.
Oh, the electric coos, yeah, they're cool.
It's 7 years old, and 18 and 21 year old, and it's £55, and it's bra. It's tasty.
I was so pumped to get a bottle of this, and it just doesn't disappoint. A stunning looking bottle, and it is from the Whiskey Super Group, made up of Little Brown Dog, Stirk Brothers and What Whiskey. It's awesome that they've come together to do this blend, which contains liquid from all the current Campbeltown distilleries. Professional. I think it's sold out like rapidly, so sorry for any FOMO. It always feels like it's always me who's missing out and sipping my budget blends, so I feel your pain. A review is on the way, and no spoilers, but based on what I've had tried so far, this will be scoring very highly.
Nobody likes a tease, Donna!
The first name I had written for this was like Monthly Malt Madness, which I could then shorten to whiskey. However, I don't want to limit it to just malt, even more so when I'm trying a banging grain whiskey. The Table Whiskey from the Leaf Export Co. It's a pretty young, single grain whiskey matured in like virgin oaks and sherry casks, I think, but it is damn good. It looks so small compared to the bottles. Hopefully you can see that on the camera, this little sample. The bottle itself is a 35 quid wine shaped bottle of like just grain whiskey, which is meant to be super approachable. I did have really low expectations, but it really has impressed me. It's not that small. Yeah, it's super floral, lots of white chocolate and just bags of sweetness. I can see this not being everyone's cup of tea, with the fact that it is, I'm assuming, quite a young grain whiskey, and there is that kind of like sharp dustiness to it. But this beats other grain whiskies that I've got, like that 30-year-old one. This smashes it. The full bottle is sat near the top of my buy list, and that list is getting so damn long, but really is an approachable, easy to drink, table whiskey.
That's exactly what it says on the tin.
So it's transparency time. This bottle was sent to the newly rebuilt Whiskey Wash website and then was deflected onto me. So I've got no ties with the distillery and no limitations or anything on my thoughts or anything, but transparency with you is key. I think I'm on a bit of a trial period where the plan is I'm just being provided the samples and all I got to give is tasting notes, which feels like I've beaten the system a bit. I'm being sent some banging stuff like this one for little effort, and then I can do with the whiskey what I like. Some have been small samples like this, other have been chunky hefty ones. So as I can see it, it's a good deal.
I'll make that deal. How about you bitch? You make that deal?
I'd make that deal.
I don't blame you. Damn good deal.
Granted, while I've only just started, it ain't all good. Possibly my third sample I tried for them was this. The Connoisseur's Choice Gordon and MacPhail Glencadam 1974. It was bad. Like my first sit down with it, I just noted rotten tang. That would be a good name for a punk band though. Distilled in 1974, I think was only bottled at 12 years age, but I've not really looked into it in depth in truth. It's 40%. There's not a lot online for it. I found one place that sells it for 695 quid, which I would say not worth it. I noted down rotten apples, soggy oranges. It's a bit musty and yeah, tangy. Yeah, it's just my opinion, but bad. I will, however, give that last dribble to a mate as a thank you for lending me something of similar quality. This Johnny Walker Blue, which is hiding. So I think I should have finished the edit and got the full review out by now. Check out for a deeper dive. I'll do the linky thingy bobbies duppy hairy. It's a pretty enjoyable whiskey, but not a thinker. It's been fun to make lots of content with it though, got to milk those fancy Johnny Walkers. Speaking of fancy, another sample was the Glencadam 27. This one is a beauty. Glencadam is a bit hit or miss for me, but when it hits, it really slaps. This is stunning. I'm not a sherry head, but this is one of the best Oloroso cask drops I've had. It's Christmas cake and a punch of hazelnut, very chewy, fudgy, and just full of spices. Bit mull winey. Yeah, very, very festive. Often higher age whiskey doesn't tend to be my jam. I find there's a point of diminishing returns.
He usually gets that in the end.
And 15, 16 year old peak age for me. Out of context, that sounds really bad. 15, 16 year old whiskey. I just twigged this shows a huge contrast between the two Glencadams. A 3 out of 10 and a 9 out of 10. Though that's not including value. At £710, I wouldn't even be allowed to sniff the bottle. But really glad I tried it. I've also had a Dewar's Japanese Smooth. So this 8-year-old blended scotch, which was finished in Madeira oak, Manzinura? Yes, that one. It was fine, a fine basic blend where not sure how much impact the oak actually had on the liquid inside. I feel like it's more of a marketing move. Yeah, so not one I would buy or really recommend buying, but I think you can get it pretty cheap. Let me know if I'm wrong. I've also recently had some samples from a bottle split that Whiskey Share done maybe 2 years ago now, and it's a range of the Glendronach bottles. There was a whole selection, but they were in plastic sample bottles, so I wanted to go through them quickly after being some of the drams that fell behind my old cupboard. My favourite was the Glendronach 8, is it the Healin', where I gave it a very good score of 7.6 out of 10. I think the rest were between a 5 and a 7, which is all pretty solid. There is also a new Jeff Whiskey poster behind me, updated the one from about 2 years ago. Must have been like 30 logos back now. And I did get another bottle recently. This one, the Seven Sons 11-year-old blended malt. Hefty.
Oh, nice and thick.
A release from 8 Doors Distillery while they wait for their release of their own single malt. This was a rare purchase on a bit of a whim. Ryan Sutherland, the distillery manager, curated this one. He's even got his little signature on there, and he seems like a genuine solid dude who loves his whiskey and knows his onions. So yeah, it seemed a great price, and I took a punt on it.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Genuinely, it's a really good sherried whiskey. Again, that's not always my thing, but this is what I imagine Macallan should be. It's like super premium tasting, very luxurious, thick, all that good stuff. And as Hamish on Dramface said, it's how he imagines old school whiskey might taste, and I'm really with him there. This just feels like a proper whiskey.
Oh yeah, I'm talking real old school.
And this Kingsbarn is just so fruity and juicy. Let me know if you know of any other banging SDR cask whiskey. I know this is a bit of a ramble. Let me know if you like more of these, maybe monthly, and we'll make sure I'm more organised in the future. If you've enjoyed this, slap subscribe. Hated it, give it a dislike. Thank you to the bottle slappers who helped me with these whiskey purchases and supporting the channel. I'm grateful to have you all here, and cheers to the next one.